We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca compresses a vast philosophy of life into this single sentence. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality is not a denial of pain, loss, or hardship. Rather, it is a diagnosis of the human tendency to multiply suffering through fear, anticipation, memory, and mental storytelling. Seneca observed, long before modern psychology confirmed it, that the mind is often a harsher tyrant than circumstances themselves. What wounds us most deeply is not what happens, but what we think might happen, what we replay from the past, and what we project into an uncertain future. At the heart of Seneca's insight is the distinction between objective events and subjective interpretation. Reality delivers facts: illness, poverty, rejection, delay, death. The mind, however, adds layers of meaning, dread, and catastrophe. A man awaiting a trial may suffer more in the weeks of anticipation than in the verdict itself. A woman fearing illness may endure months of anxiety before any diagnosis is known. Even when hardship never arrives, the suffering was real, manufactured entirely by imagination. Seneca's wisdom lies in showing us that much of our pain is optional, or at least negotiable. Human beings possess a remarkable capacity to time travel mentally. We revisit the past with regret and guilt, and we rush into the future with fear and hope. Rarely do we remain fully in the present moment, where life is actually happening. For the Stoics, this mental wandering is the root of unnecessary suffering. Seneca notes that the present is usually tolerable. It is the imagined future that terrifies us. Hunger today may be bearable, but the fear of lifelong poverty crushes the spirit. A single insult may sting briefly, but the imagined loss of reputation can torment a person for years. Modern psychology echoes Seneca's claim. Studies on anxiety reveal that most feared outcomes never occur, and those that do are often less devastating than anticipated. The mind's threat detection system evolved to protect us, but when left unchecked, it becomes hyperactive, inventing dangers to justify its vigilance. Seneca understood this intuitively. He warned that by rehearsing misfortune in advance, we double our suffering, once in imagination and again, if it ever happens, in reality. Yet Seneca was not advocating denial or blind optimism. Stoicism does not say nothing bad will happen. It says, do not suffer before you must. There is a crucial difference. Seneca encouraged rational preparation without emotional torment. To acknowledge that hardship is possible is wise. To emotionally live inside that hardship before it arrives is folly. The Stoic trains the mind to say, this may happen, but if it does, I will meet it then, not now. Another dimension of Seneca's statement concerns memory. We do not only suffer in anticipation, we suffer in recollection. Many people relive old wounds repeatedly, reopening scars that time might otherwise heal. An embarrassment from years ago, a failure long past, or a betrayal already ended continues to drain energy in the present. Reality has moved on, but the imagination keeps the pain alive. Seneca would argue that this too is voluntary suffering. The event has ended, only the story remains. Seneca's words also challenge our cultural addiction to worry. In many societies, worry is mistaken for responsibility. People believe that if they worry enough, they are being prudent, caring, or prepared. Seneca dismantles this illusion. Worry does not prevent misfortune, it only ensures misery. He reminds us that suffering ahead of time does not make us stronger. On the contrary, it weakens us before the battle even begins. There is also a moral element in Seneca's insight. When we suffer excessively in imagination, we surrender our inner freedom. External events may be beyond our control, but our judgments about them are not. This is a central Stoic principle. Freedom lies in mastering the mind. A person who is enslaved by imagined fears is not free, even in comfort. Conversely, one who governs their thoughts may remain free even in adversity. Seneca himself was no stranger to hardship. He experienced exile, political danger, illness, and ultimately a forced death under Emperor Nero. His philosophy was not born in comfort, but tested under pressure. That lends weight to his claim. He did not speak as a detached theorist, but as someone who had observed, in himself and others, how fear magnifies pain. He knew that the anticipation of death can be more torturous than death itself. Importantly, Seneca's statement does not dismiss real suffering. Physical pain, injustice, and loss are real and serious. What he condemns is added suffering, the mental cruelty we inflict upon ourselves. Stoicism seeks to reduce this surplus pain. If sorrow must come, let it come once, not repeatedly in advance or endlessly afterward. The practical implications of Seneca's words are profound. They call us to examine our thoughts with discipline. When fear arises, we can ask, is this happening now or only in my imagination? When anxiety swells, we can ask, am I responding to reality or to a story about reality? This simple distinction can dissolve much needless anguish. In a world saturated with information, predictions, and constant alerts, Seneca's wisdom is more relevant than ever. News cycles profit from imagined catastrophe. Social comparison fuels fears of inadequacy. Digital life amplifies hypothetical judgments and future anxieties. We are invited daily to suffer in advance about markets, health, relationships, and reputation. Seneca offers a quiet rebellion. Return to what is real, present, and within your control. Ultimately, Seneca's sentence is an invitation to courage and clarity. It reminds us that life is hard enough without the burden of imagined disasters. By freeing ourselves from unnecessary mental suffering, we conserve strength for what truly matters. We become calmer, more resilient, and more capable of meeting reality as it is, not as fear paints it. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality is not merely a comforting thought, it is a discipline of attention. It teaches us that peace is not found by eliminating all hardship, but by refusing to let the mind invent pain where none yet exists. In learning to suffer only when we must, and no more than necessary, we reclaim a measure of wisdom, and with it, a quieter, stronger way of living.